Morning, everyone. So, welcome to the licence panel meeting this morning, and we'll start with a round of introductions. My name is Councillor Amanda Pinnock. I'm the chair of the panel and safety committee. Over to my colleagues, Councillor Homewood.
Yeah, hi, I'm Councillor James Homewood. I'm a member of the panel today.
Good morning. My name's Councillor Adam Gregg from the Lindley ward. Thank you.
Hello, I'm David Stickley and I'm a solicitor working for Kirklees Council.
Licensing officers.
Good morning, Chair. Anne Warbutt, Licensing Officer, presenting the report.
Good morning, Mike Skelton, Senior Licensing Officer.
Steve Mycroft, Licensing Officer.
Sorry, I apologise. I didn't have you down on my list. Okay, we have the licence holder, Mr. Uppal. Would you like to identify yourself? Thank you, and you've come along with a representative today.
Yeah, my name is June Clark. Could I just ask people to speak up? I'm a little bit deaf and I didn't hear any of that introduction, so if they could just speak into the mic. Thank you.
Okay, let's go through the agenda item. So, minutes of the last meeting that was held on the 9th of March. Is that okay? Can you hear? Yeah? 9th of March, I was here. Councillor Gregg, you were here too. You happy to approve those?
Seconded, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any interest to declare? Councillor Homewood? Councillor Gregg?
No, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is admissions of the public. We will be resolving agenda item 8, which will be a discussion in private, but I will deal with that a little bit later on. Any deputations or petitions?
None received, Chair.
Any questions from the public?
No public questions received, Chair.
Okay, we'll go straight into the first application this morning, which is application for grant of premises licence in respect of the European mini market situated at 59 Blacker Road, Berkeley, Huddersfield. So let's start by asking the licence officer, please, to outline the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As you say, it's the European mini market at Blacker Road at Berkeley. It's a grant of a new premise licence. The application was first received on the 24th of March of this year. A copy of the application is attached at Appendix A, and the licensable activities are the sale of alcohol for off sales, Monday to Sunday, between the hours of 6 AM and 2200 hours. One representation has been received from one of the ward councillors, expressing concerns for potential for crime and disorder and public nuisance. The other two ward members essentially they agreed with the written representation that's on the report. Representations received consider the prevention of crime and disorder and public nuisance. The representation is attached to Appendix B as information with regard to the licensing policy within the pack here. Let's see. Obviously, the 4 licensing objectives need to be considered when making a decision. With regard to consultees and their opinions, West Yorkshire Police have been further consulted. They didn't make any representations. The ward councillors had made reference to antisocial behaviour and crime and disorder. Unfortunately, they didn't volunteer any evidence to support that, and obviously we haven't been able to get members along here to verbally give those representations. When speaking to West Yorkshire Police, I did ask them I went back to them basically and asked them if they had any further concerns with regard to the licensing objectives as to what had been mentioned, and they were quite strong in saying no, there's no alcohol related issues concerning crime and disorder or antisocial behaviour. So the next steps in terms of timelines are, just to remind you respectfully members, that there's a number of steps that you can take, obviously taking into consideration the 182 guidance, licensing policy, extracts of those are attached to the report here. Steps that could be taken are the grant of the licence with appropriate conditions, or you could exclude from the scope of the application any licensable activity. In this case, there's only one, or you could reject the application in total. I think it's fair to add, Chair, that it wasn't prudent to add to the report at this point because it had already been sent to governance. The licensing consultants did offer additional conditions with the aim of maybe avoiding a hearing and resolving this matter before, obviously we had to come here today. That hasn't been possible, so those additional conditions were withdrawn because it was felt that the application was a strong enough application as it is. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. We'll move to questions. I think you've answered most of my questions. I think the only other question I'd want to ask is about environmental health. Could you confirm there's been no comments or observations from them?
I beg your pardon, sorry. Shall I repeat? So all had been consulted. I only went back to the police because the concerns of the ward councillors did directly say that there's existing problems in the area concerning crime and disorder and antisocial behaviour. And I asked the police to actually check the MPT records and local police intelligence, and they've come back and said absolutely there's nothing of concern. Does that answer the question?
It does, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move to my colleagues. Councillor Homewood, any questions?
I mean, I'm not an expert, so I can't say that I'm not the ward councillor in that area. But I am a little bit surprised to hear that nobody at any department of the council or the police has ever identified any crime in this area, which, you don't need to know a lot to know that there is concerns raised about crime in that area. So I'm not saying it's necessarily relevant to the application or not, but I'm surprised that we don't even have anything that can tell us what the nature of crimes reported there has been or any sort of disturbances. I'm a bit surprised at that, to be honest.
I think the answer has been it's not that there isn't any issues in the area, Councillor. It's because obviously it's a licence application. We have to look at it in line with the licensing objectives, and they believe that, well, they don't believe, the intelligence suggests that there's nothing directly alcohol related that would be of a concern, in which case they would have put forward their own representations.
Okay.
Any more questions, Councillor? Councillor Gregg?
No questions, thank you, Chair.
Okay, we'll move to the licence holders represented by Ms Clark.
Good morning, everybody. May I just, can you just clarify the two councillors' positions at the hearing today? Because I don't have their names on my...
So both the councillors today are ward councillors from Kirklees. We have Councillor Homewood and we have Councillor Gregg. They're both panel members who have come along today, obviously to hear what's been said and to support me in arriving at a decision in respect of this application.
Oh, I see. So you've got 5 panel members to this today?
There's 3 of us. The 3 of us make the decision.
Right, okay. But they're not objecting, they can't object because they're not party to the application?
No, they're not here to object. They're here to listen to the evidence, and once the evidence is heard, to arrive at a decision as to what direction what decision should be made in respect of the application.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. Right.
Chair, would it be helpful just to speak? I think there might be some confusion in the terms of ward councillors. This application falls within the Greenhead ward, and the Greenhead ward councillors were consulted on the application. It's those ward councillors that we're talking about in context of the report and objections, but they're not here today. As Chair has said, these other members are part of the panel to make the decision today.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, okay, thank you. My name is June Clark and I am a licensing consultant for JMC Licensing. We are here today to assist our client, Mr Uppel, in his plan to open a business in Huddersfield to enable him to support his family. He's a family man, he's married and he has 2 small children. One of the main principles of our applications is to ensure that all premises licence applications submitted fully support the licensing objectives. We believe that we have satisfied that criteria in our operating schedule. The premises sits in a side road off the main road, which is near St John's Road, and there are at least 35 retail businesses also in the same road. Most of them are food outlets. At least 6 are takeaway restaurants serving and selling hot food late into the evening. In preparation of the application, we were guided by several policies, including the Kirklees Council Statement of Licensing Policy, which I'll refer to as the SOLP, and the latest Secretary of State's revised guidance under Section 182 of the Licensing Act, to ensure that full consideration was given to the 4 licensing objectives and that all our proposed conditions were robust, legally enforceable, and sufficiently in line with the main principles of Kirklees SOLP. We further hope that our application would provide clarity to the responsible authorities and local residents and councillors on how the premises will support all 4 of the licensing objectives, which would allow our client to conduct his business as a responsible retailer. We believe that the proposed conditions have been tailored to the individual type, location and characteristics of the premises, and that we have reduced as much as possible all risks of crime and harm to children and prevention of, obviously, public nuisance. Following a risk assessment, a full set of precise, enforceable, unambiguous and clear conditions were drawn up in what they intend to achieve. Upon reading and understanding them, it should be easy to understand how the applicant will promote the objectives in an effective way, using conditions that have been tailored and to the premises and the area and Kirklees policy at the time. The SOLP provides the regulatory framework which already reflects the needs of local communities that empowers local authorities to make and enforce decisions. In section 2.12 of the SOLP, it actually acknowledges that licensing law is not the primary mechanism for the general control of antisocial behaviour by individuals once they are beyond the direct control of the premises. In section 5.10 of the SOLP, it states the council will consider whether it is necessary to impose conditions to regulate behaviour of customers, and then it says accessing and utilising premises. So this is the customers who are actually using the premises, so it's in and out of the shop, not in the area. Any conditions attached will not seek to manage the behaviour of customers once they are beyond the direct management of the licence holder. And this is repeated again in 11.3 of the SOLP. This does not in any way negate a retailer's responsibility. It's just that these responsibilities are different to those of a different type of business, say a club or a nightclub, where customers can and do become drunk by consuming excessive alcohol on the premises and then leaving and possibly causing problems on the way home. The guidance recommends that all shops, stores and supermarkets should normally be permitted to provide sales of alcohol for consumption off the premises at any time when the retail outlet is open, unless there are very good reasons for restricting these hours. In our application, the main conditions that we have offered are CCTV containing 7 main key elements, which is keeping footage for 31 days, quick and immediate access to the system upon request from a police officer, good clear quality capturing head and shoulders at the point of sale and on entry to the premises. We've also offered compliance log registers, incident refusal CCTV log, and 2 training books. One is the induction, and the other one is concentrating on age-restricted products, which we found 30 products that are normally sold in a retail premises. Challenge 25 with posters and proxy signage clearly displayed on the premises, all spirits behind the counter, and refusal policies and quiet notices prominently displayed. Once these conditions are being operated at the premises, it would be difficult or even foolish for any member of staff to commit any breach of licence conditions. All the training books, the compliance books, incident refusal training books, all the notices and posters, proxy signs, they're all going to be supplied by our company. So we will supply them at the shop. We normally take them down and we normally display them in the correct positions, and we normally have a quick induction on how to use the books. They're very simple to use. They've actually been placed in a few shops and places around Huddersfield in the past. Once these conditions are being operated at the premises, I've read that, a premises licence is now considered to be an expensive and valuable asset to any business. And so it's not like it used to be, it's actually they're becoming aware of its value. Operators are very much aware just how easy it can be revoked by the licensing authority for committing criminal offences following a breach of its conditions. I would now like to address the objectors' letters. We have tried to negotiate with all three councillors, but unfortunately they refused to discuss the matter with us. In section 5.9 of the SOLP, the council will look to the police for the main source of advice on these matters, which they have done. Upon reading the councillors' emails, only Councillor Ulla's email actually described his reasons for objection in writing. Councillors Sokal and Patterson, their only comments were agree with Sheik and agree with Carol and Sheik. Therefore, I can only address the contents of Councillor Sheik's letter of objection. First, Councillor Ulla describes the area having antisocial drug and alcohol misuse issues, potentially leading to further crime. I'm not trying to say that there are no problems in the area. Antisocial behaviour, drug and alcohol misuse are a problem created by society in general. In fact, I would go as far as to say it's a huge problem for many towns and cities across the UK. However, I did check the crime stats for police.uk, and in Becker Road and the close areas, there was only 20... Thank you very much, thank you, excuse me. Excuse me. I did check the crime stats of the Police UK, and in Becker Road and close areas, there was only 25 reported crimes in the last 12 months. That equates to 1 crime every 2 weeks. In fact, Huddersfield crime rate is 11% and is the lowest in the area. That's 11% per 100,000. This is probably why the police are not here with us today. The councillor then comments on to write, and I quote, allowing another licensed premises. I quote again, as there are other licensed premises within proximity. This comment affects the question of need. Need is a decision that can only be made by the planning authority based on a commercial demand. Need is not an area for the licensing authority to consider. In the same paragraph, the councillor comments on parking and increased traffic. Again, these are not issues for the licensing panel today. The councillor then repeats his concerns regarding ASB drug and alcohol misuse. I would like to answer that statement by informing everybody here today that neither my client nor his shop has contributed to any existing problems of the area, and hopefully it is unlikely to in the future. We can understand the councillor's concerns, and I'm sure that his constituents have had discussions with him in the past. The councillor is the only contactable person they know where local people can address and voice their frustrations and complaints, as there is no one else to talk to and nowhere else for them to go. Our client or his shop must not be put to task for other individuals' reckless and foolish actions, especially towards themselves. The councillors have not addressed or commented on the contents of the operating schedule, the timings or proposed conditions, which clearly support the licensing objectives. Since the introduction of the new licensing regime, the largest supermarkets and some other stores have been selling cheap alcohol 24 hours a day for quite a few years now. Some of them, the last time I looked in one of the big ones, it was selling 12 or 15 cans for £10 to £15 a pack, sometimes less. This is where most of the habitual drinkers buy their alcohol from, not the smaller corner shops that are generally seen as top-up shops, because their alcohol tends to be a lot more expensive. Another quote was, do partnering services have the capacity to deal with any additional overflow? We all know that the emergency services do a great job helping people in need, but from experience, the majority of individuals who are given emergency assistance have been drinking in the pubs and bars and the nightclubs, not buying from shops, and contributing to further ASB. Again, the majority of these individuals have been in the pubs and clubs. The police are the experts in crime and disorder, and they and the other responsible authorities, upon submission of our application, were all served a copy of the application for their approval. Each responsible authority is an expert in their respective field, and in some cases it is likely that a particular responsible authority will be the licensing authority's main source of advice in relation to a particular licensing objectives or subject. The police should usually therefore be the licensing authority's main source of advice on matters relating to the promotion of crime and disorder. The responsible authorities play a crucial role in the licensing process. They have a legal duty to assess an application, and if in their expert opinion they consider that the application would undermine any of the 4 licensing objectives, they must submit a representation with or without proposed conditions. That is their legal duty. Nobody is here today, and that obviously tells us quite clearly that each of the responsible authorities have accepted the application on its own merits, and all agree that this application will not undermine any of the 4 licensing objectives. That concludes my presentation. I thank the chair panel and others for your time, and I apologise about my voice, but I had a bit of a sore throat and it's left me with this, but I'm getting better. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to questions. So I'd like to know a little bit more about Mr. Uppal and about the business. So is the business currently in operation at the moment?
Sorry, no, they haven't opened yet.
Okay. What about Mr. Uppal's experience? Has he run a shop before? Has he sold alcohol before?
Yeah, I believe that he's got 2 years' experience. He went down south for, was it Southall?
Yeah, Southall.
Southall, where he worked in shops for 2 years. And he's got his experience from there. He's also the manager of a gym in Huddersfield. He's born and bred Huddersfield, and is the manager of a gym. And he's successful, and he's put staff in place, and he wants to expand into the retail industry to obviously try and build up a little bit of a life and something to leave for his children, a legacy for his children as well.
Morning, everyone. My background, I worked in banking for quite a while. You know, I worked as a mortgage broker, financial advisor in banking. I worked for Deloitte, worked for KPMG. So that was a regulatory industry. I was a trusted person, did really well. But then over time, you know, I had a couple of children, and it was really stressful working away, travelling away. And I wasn't getting to spend time with my young children. So I wanted to do something that I was passionate about. I've always trained, either playing football or cricket, but then I went more into training and spending time in the gym. And then I decided to leave the banking career behind, do something I enjoyed, something I was passionate about. And I took over a gym. That was Tobury's gym. It was pretty notorious. There was a lot of trouble in the past there. So myself and my brother, who worked in the police, we decided to, we'll try our hand at something that we enjoy. So we started running Tobury's gym, changed that around. We got really good community feel in there, really good staff in there now, really good people in there. We did a lot of work for charity as well there. And there's a homeless shelter just up the road as well. They have a lot of problems, and we like to spend our time over there and just help them out as well. Show them the positives of training as well, turning their life around. A lot of them have got alcohol abuse, stuff like that, drinking problems, drug problems. So we show them the positive steps they can take with their life and being charged with their life as well. So I've had a background working with people in the community, and I'd always want to bring something positive to my community as well. I've been born in Fartown, always lived in Huddersfield. So if there are problems, I think I would know the area well, and I would never want it to, add to any problems at all in the area. Just be positive, like a role model. So it's for me, last couple of years, it's really been tough with the gyms as well. We've had a lockdown. We've had a lot of help from council. Appreciate that. But it's been tough to get all the members back. There's been a lot of people lacking confidence to go back into gyms. There's a lot of positives of training as well. You're working on your strengthening your lungs, your health as well, promoting fitness. So you're not obese as well. But a lot of people have lacked confidence and have gone out of the habit of training. So I just want to diversify. Make sure I'm providing for my family as well. Hence why the reason I've decided to try my hand opening a shop. So like I said, I would never want to, bring anything negative to the community, just positive. Like I said, that's something I want to do, and hopefully, yeah.
Thank you. So, as your representative has pointed out, ward councillors have raised objections to the application, and they've talked about, existing antisocial behaviour in the area, drugs, alcohol misuse. And they've also gone on to talk about highways issues, increased traffic, footfall and so on, which admittedly falls under the umbrella of planning, but also licensing in terms of potential public nuisance. So I'm just interested to know, how would you address situations where, there are problems around the shop? There is problem with alcohol misuse, there is problems with antisocial behaviour. And from what you said, I know you've got a background of dealing possibly with, people with issues. But how would you cope in a situation like this when your business is up and running?
Again, it's getting to know the community. I do know the community. Like I said, we give our time freely to the homeless shelter as well. So we know a lot of the people in the area. We work a lot with the councillors in the area as well to promote good practices as well. And again, being there and interacting with the community as well, being there as a face as well, something they can relate to as well. So, and then just being positive as well. I worked at university, I did work on the doors as well. So I know how to engage customers, engage with people as well. And, if someone's had too much on the door, you just speak nicely to them. You never heavy-handed with them, It's just making them, realise the situation, have a little talk with them. So just,
It sounds like you've had a varied experience, which is positive. Yeah. But what about the shop itself? Will it have CCTV, for example? Yeah,
similar to what we do with the gym, with the licensing officer, well, with CCTV, we keep logs and everything. So everything's, we would make sure if anyone's is this antisocial, they were bad, and we would keep an eye on who's coming in. So even if the staff are there, we'd have a log of anyone who we thought we didn't want in the shop, they would not be there, or in the area, loitering around, no one drinking outside, because you got a lot of children walking past, you got a couple of mosques down the road as well, so we want to make sure we fit into the community as well. And, everyone enjoys a drink, I'm a Liverpool fan, Huddersfield Town fan. We've had a few drinks at the weekend, but again, it's everything in moderation and making sure everyone has a good time, but,
I think you might have made yourself a little bit unpopular there. Anyway, moving on to my colleagues. Councillor Homewood?
I don't have any questions here. I think that was a comprehensive summary.
Thank you. Councillor Gregg?
Yes, it was very comprehensive. Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions. Thank you to June Clark for the comprehensive information about your business, because that obviously helps build a picture of what you're trying to achieve. Are you likely to be working on site yourself? Is it going to be? Yeah, no, that's great, thank you. And the only other thing I picked up was the CCTV. I think it was referred to as a condition. I'm not sure whether that is in there as a condition on the actual licence. The copy I've got, I can't seem to find it, but it might be. It might be on there.
Yeah, may I just, I noticed that in the bundle page, there's 2 pages of conditions. The first page is missing.
Okay.
Would you like a copy of it?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we need to have a copy of that.
Is this the first one?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There's no further questions from me, but I will share this with the rest of the panel members. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we'll have an opportunity to consider this a little bit more when we're deliberating and making our decision. Okay, thank you very much. I think I need to ask the licensing officer whether they've got any questions.
No, thank you, Chair. I think everything's been covered well. Apologies. Clearly there's a page missing from the bundle. Apologies.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the objectors. So 3 ward councillors from the area have indicated objections to the application. One councillor, Councillor Ulla, has set out his reasons, and the other 2 councillors, Councillor Sokal and Councillor Patterson, have said they've agreed with his comments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out what's been said for members of the public or anybody else who hasn't had an opportunity to have a look at this bundle. So Councillor Ulla says, I would like to object to this application. My reasons are: situated in a part of the ward that has existed antisocial behaviour, drugs and alcohol misuse issues added to potential further crime and disorder. Allowing another licensed premises will increase and add further intensification to the area and add possible public nuisance. There are other licensed establishments within proximity, brackets St John's Road, situated on a busy road with limited parking, with highway safety issues, increased traffic and footfall during peak times. Many residents over the past few years have made many complaints to me around the activities on Blacker Road, particularly congregating outside other premises. The police are aware of the situation. I feel that this will not enhance but cause further harm to the area. As ward councillors, no one knows the patch better than us. This will now only intensify the area, potentially contributing to further ASB, drugs and alcohol misuse issues. Do partnering services have the capacity to deal with any additional overflow? The area is already intensified, and further premises will exacerbate the ongoing issues even more. So that was an email that was sent on the 31st of March of this year. Councillor Patterson responded on the 1st of April saying, I agree with my colleague, and Councillor Sokal sent an email again 1st of April agreeing with both his ward colleagues. So they're not here today for us to ask any questions of them. We can only rely on the information that's been provided. And I understand from the licence officer that no other responsible authority or any other service within the council has raised any objections, so we're not able to put any questions to them. But I'd ask everyone now to sum up, please. So, licensing officer, if you'd like to sum up or make any final comments.
Certainly, Chair. So, in summary, we have an application for the grant of a premises licence in Blacker Road in Berkeley. The application has been duly advertised, as according to the Licensing Act. Public notice is displayed, notice in the newspaper. Of those that have been consulted, the ward councillors are included in that, although they're not responsible authorities. Councillor Ola, on behalf of the ward councillors for Greenhead, has responded with the email that's in the bundle, which we've discussed at length. In response to the concerns of Councillor Ola, especially regarding antisocial behaviour, crime and disorder, as the licensing officer preparing this and having charge for the bundle, I went back to West Yorkshire Police to ask them more specifically pointed questions about details of any information that was on the police registers, the neighbourhood policing team information that might support that or give rise to their concerns. They came back and said that there's nothing, not that there's nothing in the area, but that there's nothing alcohol related that they have concerns about in line with the licensing objectives. That was the response. There has been an there's been attempts to mediate this between the applicant and the ward councillors. For prudence sake, that wasn't all put into the bundle. It would have been huge. Unfortunately, it did fall within the election period, and the councillors were quite difficult to get hold of. I made a point of phoning Councillor Uller, and we had a bit of a discussion. He didn't want to engage in any further mediation, which was his direct response. As a result of that, we're here today and we've discussed, I think, in some detail. Mrs. Clark has given a detailed sort of position as far as the applicant is concerned. The applicant's given quite an eloquent speech as far as his relation to the neighbourhood, his business activities and what he's done. Further questions have been raised about the state of crime and disorder in the area. I think they've been adequately addressed and answered. Apologies, there was a page missing from the bundle which included some of the further conditions, but I think in its entirety, I think as a licensing officer, not my personal opinion but just professionally, it's a decent application, the hours are reasonable. There has been reference to other licensed premises in the area. That is not really a licensing matter for us to consider here today. There's been concerns about highways issues and parking issues. In fairness, practically speaking, it's an off licence. It's not a pub or a restaurant or a nightclub. And I think the footfall will probably be literally footfall because it would be there for locals. So hopefully that gives some assurance to panel. Any sort of concerns with regard to the 182 guidance has been added to the bundle, and I think that pretty much sums up the application, Chair.
I'm grateful, thank you. Ms. Clark, would you like to sum up briefly?
Thank you. Mr. Uppel has no criminal record. He's a married man with 2 children. And during his working experience selling alcohol, he's never been required to speak with the police, training standards, or any officers from the relevant council in the area that the premises were situated in regarding criminal matters, and has never failed to test purchase. Full consideration was given to the 4 licensing objectives, and that all our proposed conditions were robust and legally enforceable, and sufficiently covered all the main principles of Kirklees Council SOLP. All the responsible authorities, including the police, accepted and approved our client's application on its own merits in the original format it was submitted. So we can confidently sit here and confirm that our application was approved by the experts in crime and disorder, public safety, protection of children and environmental health regarding prevention of public nuisance. These are their own specialist areas. In our submission, a subcommittee, if guided by their own policies, the Licensing Act and the revised guidance, can only refuse the application if the operating schedule is not capable of promoting the licensing objectives. And we believe that our operating schedule does fully support. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So we've now heard the information. We now need an opportunity to consider what's been heard and to make a decision on the application. So if I can ask everyone to leave the room, please, to allow us to do that. Thank you. And when we've made our decision, we will call you back in.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Are we all back? Lovely. Okay, so thank you everyone for taking part in this. We appreciate the input that's been given to allow us to arrive at our decision. We have taken the decision to agree the application as applied for, which is sale of alcohol off premises between Monday to Sunday, 1600 hours to 2200 hours. We have taken into account the concerns.
Did you say 1600?
6. Yeah, so 6 in the morning until 10 in the evening. Yeah, that's what you've applied for. We have taken into account what ward colleagues have had to say, given that they know the area very well and it is their patch. And for that reason, you know, we've looked at what's been said about the crime and disorder, which has been put forward by them, and public nuisance that they have concerns about. And for that reason, we think it's important that the CCTV proposals that have been put forward in the application is made a condition of the licence. But also in addition to that, that the CCTV condition also includes covering the front approach of the building. So you're nodding your head, so I'm assuming that's something that can be done. Okay. So thank you very much. The decision will be sent out in writing to you, so you'll have that. And all the best with your business.
Really appreciate that. Thank you for your time again. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Morning, everyone. So we will start by a round of introductions. Yeah. My name's Amanda Pinnock. I'm the chair of the panel and licensing committee. We'll turn to my colleague, Councillor Homewood.
Yep, Councillor James Homewood. I'm one of the members of the panel today.
Councillor Gregg.
Thank you. Councillor Adam Gregg, a member of the panel. Thank you.
We'll turn to the officers.
Jordan Barrett, Licensing Officer. Richard Woodhead, West Yorkshire Police Licensing Officer.
Mike Skelton, Senior Licensing Officer.
Steve Mycroft, Licensing Officer.
Lovely, thank you very much. So we're dealing with item 7, which is a matter excluding the public, because it's likely to include exempt information and sensitive information. I'd like to begin by asking my colleagues if they're in agreement with this. Thank you. So I just have a little piece to read out, and then we will end the live stream. So members are asked to resolve this under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting during consideration of item of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined under Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act. Therefore, in accordance with the Act, the public will be excluded from Agenda Item 8. Thank you.